This is an important session. We should record it. And do you see it now?
Yes.
Very good. So when you go here, you type the ticker or you choose the company. Now we will be sorting them by, if you are not a administrator, you cannot see all the companies, only the administrator. And the reason is that we want to open only companies that that we already have got the data right. We don't want the user to fill up the matching. We need to do the matching. Okay? And therefore, this SEC shouldn't be open to the public. Something this one has all the data, but we're gonna make a nice financial statement looking like a nice financials out of this data. So this is I call raw data, which we're putting for the XBRL, and eventually will turn up to a nice data. This one is going to go away because it's my old way of collecting data, and that's going to go away anyway. This one is going to stay, but only for us, and this is going to stay but only for us. Okay, but for now I keep it. It used to be here, but I moved it, and now I start organizing it the way it's supposed to be. After this one, eventually this one should be filled up automatically. One thing's coming up very soon this week that here you have to choose which technology, which sub-industries is Apple in. Truth of the matter, Apple is in electronics, computer software, something like that. It calculates something called beta in finance. I will have a special session with you guys on that, okay? So as we get there, I will talk about it today. And then when you go here, bingo, you have a full blown up valuation for the company. Later on, we talk about simulation. It's already done, but I want to change it, make it look nice, and put explanation to the meaning. But we have a while to go. It will take us about a week to two to get to this point, to this screen again. This screen I did 2 years ago, and I want to revise it and make it much more robust. For now, we have finished this one. We have the vertical, we have the horizontal, we have the ratio exactly as you studied in the course. Correct, Banda? This is exactly what you studied in the course.
Yes.
You have income statement, the horizontal analysis is how many, this is the percentage, it's 9.2 percentage growth from the previous year. And this one is vertical, this is the balance sheet, how the cash have grown. Here it's grown 30%, blah, blah, blah. We will add eventually an average of the industry. We get there. Here we'll add another column showing the average for the industry. We get there. Okay? That's for the horizontal analysis, for the vertical, we're turning the revenue to be 100%, and those are percentage. And here you can say it's more or less stable cost of revenue, gross margin. In fact, the gross margin used to be 44. It's about stable. You can tell this is a mature company, no question. It's a mature company in the sense they don't change much over time. Okay, taxes, the paying net income. The net income is about 21% plus minus. Don't change much. In fact, it used to be slightly, no, not really. You can't really tell by 1 year, 2012. You look at the balance sheets also, they have a lot of cash, no question. They used to have 6, 7%. They have now 14, 12% the last couple of years. I don't know if that's a trend. Marketable security, meaning the company is rich. You can tell the company is rich. Those two together, together it becomes to be all 30% of their assets. It's amazing. It's a lot. Account receivable is quite stable. Inventory, they have very little inventory. Tells you that Apple after all, most of their business, they don't hold inventory. Blah, 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 we can talk forever, okay? You can look at the equity. Equity, by the way, they're taking loans in the last several years. Then you ask yourself, why? That could be interesting. And we can go forever. Now, that's one thing we're going to cover today. I want to teach you what I did here by actually doing the income statement and the balance sheet. We actually will do it. Did we lose Brenda?
She's reconnecting, doctor.
No. Okay, I will wait for her a little bit because that's important. That's one thing I'm going to cover today. As I do it,
Reconnect.
yeah, as I do it, she can study how it's being done. Now, it's really interesting, but because you can tell it's a submenu in a submenu. And you know, by the way, the menu don't have to be very horizontal and horizontal. We can ask Jeremiah to make a vertical here. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like that. And even for here, maybe even split it to two choices. I don't know. But that's detail. That's not it. The essence is how you build up those two, and how you utilize. So we will cover how to do those two today, and we'll do that. By the way, everything is on the server already. Then we move to the reporting schedule. I'm working on this one, by the way. I'm still in the middle. I'll get back to that. I'm working on something there. But it is to open another menu. This is really finance already. This is something we have that these guys don't have. We saw this website. They're doing it on Apple. Is that right? They do DCF, discounted cash flow, and if you see somewhere they should have weighted average, they have all of those stuff, but they don't have a risk premium. Maybe they put it in the beta calculations. Probably here. Yeah. They have a beta, share price, beta, diluted cost of debt, risk rate. Here we go. Market risk premium. They don't really calculate it. They just put a number and let the user play with it. No, we don't want to do that. We want to have a much better solid explanation how we got that number. And that's really finance. Okay, that's what you study in graduate school in finance. So we will cover it, and hopefully by the day of today, I will show you how let's leave it that for a minute. When we click here, it should calculate the whole risk premium. It's quite intensive calculation, and let's give us an edge. Now, there are a lot of scholars wrote millions of books. I mentioned this guy. I think it's really is one of my favorite, although I have a lot of criticism of the way he does things. And you have done a lot of those calculations. For example, the one we're going to go over today, you can download from here. So I downloaded this Excel of his. The truth of the matter, I put it here. But I put it here, and the difference is, and that's going to make us different, and we have one more stage to go. Look at how many Excels he has. There's many Excels in the bottom here. Doing all those calculations, blah, 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 blah. So what I did is I took all what the essential data that he's using and made one table. So I can throw away everything. I don't need anything of his. So, by the way, when you do things in the right way, you also find errors. He has a couple errors that I discovered, but that's okay. I put all this data, and those are the parameters. Why this is really about bonds. Anybody knows what a bond is? Do you guys know what a bond is? You know what equity for a company? You Brenda know what equity is that right?
Yes.
You know, when you open a company and you start to function as a company, the company raises money, the investors. Usually when you think you're opening a business with your friends, you are all partners. Okay? So that's everybody, you have 10 partners, everybody get 10%. In a company, it works different. You establish a company, and whoever wants to be a partner in the company, or the owner, or partial owner, the company itself issue equity. It's like a document that's saying, okay, you have such and such equity. What do I mean by that? So I would take one step back. When the company is established, the company declare how many shares there will be. What does it mean again? If the company declared that they will have 1,000 shares, exactly 1,000, each one of them is $1. So if you come and you give $1 to the company give you 1 share. So your owner, partial owner in the company, 1 out of 1,000. Brenda said, no, I want to be a bigger owner. She put $100, and she has 100 shares. So far, so good.
Yeah.
So there are 2 owners. One has 1 share, and Brenda has 100. So she has really most of the ownership. By the way, when the company declared that they have 1,000 shares, they don't have to issue all the shares. Okay? Therefore, in my example that I just gave you, the company have what is known as declared or statutory or registered number of shares. So they registered that they have 1,000 shares. How many they issued? They issued only 101. So far, so good.
So
Yes,
good.
so good.
And there are only 2 owners. One is really a minor one, and one is a big one. Now, a very important thing about company than partnership or any other things is that a company run by the managers. They don't have to be the one that put the money in the company. Therefore, Brenda has 100 shares. She tells Michael, you'll be the manager of the company. Michael didn't put any money. Michael become to be the employee. He's the manager. Let's say he's the only employee. I don't know. He does everything. He gets a salary. And let's say he does something, he makes money for the company. We cover the expenses and there is a profit. The profit goes to belongs to the 2 owners. You, Daniel, you have 1, and you, Brenda, have 100. So you share the profit proportionally. You, Brenda, get 100 out of 101, and you, Daniel, you get 1 out of 101. Is that right? Because there is 101 shares. So if the profit was $1,100, $1,100, okay? How do we divide it? Now we'll do it 100, we'll do it 1,010, just for the example. Make it simple. Okay, 1,010. That was the profit. So you, Daniel, will get $10, and Brenda will get 1,000. Okay, why? Because you have 1 out of 101, and she has 100 out of 101. If you take 1,010 divided by 101, you get 10. Okay, and that's what you get, and she gets 10 times 1,000, 100, you get 1,000. That's a dividend. That's called dividend. When you distribute a profit, it's called dividend. So now you learn what equity is and what a dividend is. And we talked about the profit a little bit. We will talk more in the next sessions, okay, as we go along. I want to focus here on the technical aspects, but you need to know the basic stuff in finance to know really what we're doing, okay? Another things, your company now, you only put $101. This is nothing. Michael said to you, you know, I can do nothing. I need much more money. And you said, well, I don't have money. Let's go to the bank. And you go to the bank, and the bank give you a loan of 500. Now I have a little more money. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Now, when you have a profit, you cannot take all the profit to yourself and divide it between you, Daniel, and Brenda. First of all, you have to pay the interest to the bank. If the bank charge you 10% interest, if they lend you 500, they're expecting by the end of the year, you give them interest of 50, which is 10%. 10% interest on 500 is 50. Moreover, you still owe them the 500. Is it so far so good?
So good.
Many companies don't pay really the 500 or they spread it over the years. They always most of the time just pay the interest and roll over the debt. That's called debt, a loan from the bank. Okay? And so when you come to the income statement, you have a revenue, you collected profit from customers. Before you have a profit, you have to pay the interest to the bank. And whatever left, the government will come and ask you to pay taxes. So you pay them taxes. Whatever left, it goes to you, Daniel and Brenda. I'll repeat it. You have the revenue, whatever income you made for the company. You reduce the expenses like salary to Michael, expenses. Then you have a profit. It's known as a gross profit. From that profit, it doesn't go immediately to you guys, although you build up the company. First of all, you pay the interest to the bank. And after the interest to the bank, you pay taxes. And after the taxes, you have the profit. It's called net profit. And that's be divided between you, Daniel, and Brenda. That's the way it works. So a company is taking a loan from the bank and also raised money by you putting $1, Daniel and Brenda put 100. The company is really raised, in this example, 601. Why 601? Because you guys put $101 and you took a loan from the bank. So far, so good?
So good.
Very good example. Next example is Brenda, I think we should start a mini course of accounting and finance. I think it's only for the senior students, okay? And they had to be committed. And definitely the one who's gonna work with you. But this is a really basic one that I think you, Daniel, also should know. I think you should take that course as well. It's a very good knowledge, regardless of what we're doing. It's a good knowledge. One day you'll open your company, you will see that's what they teach in graduate school for managers. So it's a very essential knowledge. Anyway, then is that I collected his data, whatever he put here on many Excels, put them in one place. And I give them a title. Now this data he collected from several websites, which eventually we will do too. For now, I didn't want to spend my time on that. That's easy exercise eventually, but it takes some time to build. I wanted just to get stage number one. I took his data. AAA means, there are different kind of companies. There are good companies, bad companies,
Hmm?
companies that pay the debt, companies that don't, companies close to bankruptcy. But that's we'll talk about it some other time. And there's other companies that report on different type of loans that companies takes. Let's say you, Daniel, and Brenda took a loan, you always do the payment, the bank is happy, you consider as AAA company because the bank is always get the money, everybody's happy. On the other hand, there are companies, sometimes they pay the debt, sometimes they don't. They consider triple B. They are not as good as AAA. So AAA's companies that are good, triple B companies that are not that good. And there's some data we need to collect. Okay? Usually when a bank give a loan to a good company, they give it the loan with a lower interest rate because they know they will get the money. For bad companies, they ask a higher interest rate. And now this guy collected data of how much banks collect. For example, 2020, good companies were paying only 2.23 percentage.
Doctor,
Yeah.
I see your screen is stuck. We can't see really what you're showing.
It happens all the time. Thank you. Let me restart it. Now it's really stuck. It doesn't shut down. I don't know why. It says it's paused. Why? Do you see it now?
No?
Do you see it now?
Not yet.
I tell you what I will do. I have no real choice really, but shut it down somehow and resume. I will close the session. I don't know how it's got stuck. Hold a second. It's got stuck for some reason. I don't know, it does it many times. Let me see. Is that working now?
Yes,
Yes.
doctor.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, let's go back to our Excel I was talking about. So what you see here is, it's not my, yeah. So if you look at 2020, good companies were paying only 2.23 percentage. Bad companies were paying 3.11. The truth of the matter, the classification of good and bad, they are much more than that. But that's what we're going to use in this simulation. Okay? And you have the interest every year, by the way. You can tell that around the 2008, when the whole world was crazy, the interest rate went up. But you always will see that bad companies paying more than the good companies. That's one set of data. That one is how much the government, when government borrowing, what does it mean government borrowing money from the public? Uganda, the government of Uganda borrow money from the people. They don't only take taxes. So they go and they issue what is known as T-bonds. It's for a short period. They go and it's a little more elaborate. Just think about it, it's simple. The government go and borrow money. Think about it as if the government go to the bank and take a loan. For 3 months, the government has to pay interest to the bank. And this one, for every year, the interest were changing. By the way, in the US, the government borrowing for 3 months, they usually pay 1.52% a year on a yearly basis. Okay, much less than companies because government considers much more better person to lend money to. Okay, then there is something called T-bonds. This is when the government don't borrow only for 3 months, they borrow for 10 years. Government also borrow for 30 years. But it's very common to borrow for 10 years. And again, when they borrow for a long period, they pay interest. By the way, this one, the way he reported it, he really didn't do a good job because this one is percentage and this one is already decimal. So you have to correct it, and I did correct it. It really is 0.93%. Okay, because this is on decimal, but it doesn't really matter. You can change it to percentage. And it's lower than when they borrow for 3 months. The government paying less than 1% a year in America to borrow money from the bank. But that's another column. For you, it's really as a computer analyst, you don't really care kind of, but it's good to know what it is. That's what makes the difference between a good programmer to a bad one. S&P, it's kind of, for now, it's not true what I'm saying, but think about it as a company called S&P. It's not a company. In fact, it's a bunch of companies. It's like 500 companies, but you can view them as one company. And if you invested your money in that company, you can make profit. You know, when you buy shares of IBM, the shares can go up, then you make money. And what this one does, it tells you how much money you make. If you invested $100, let's take 2020. This one is already the return. Let's start from here. If you bought, let me say it's a little different really, the way this data collected. If I bought the share of this company almost 100 years ago, in 1927, you would pay $17.66. So if your parents or grandparents bought the share of S&P, they only had to pay $17.66, a little less than 100 years ago. How much money will you have today? That money go and go and go and go and go and go. Today, you will end up with $3,756 by the end of 2020. That's pretty impressive. You invested only $17, boom, wow. That's more than 200 times. That was a big, very good investment. Is that right? Not only that, during the year of 2020, the company gave you money. So you have the share in your hand, and the company gives you profit, part of the profit. In 2020, the company gave on this amount 1.5%, 0.0151, it's about 1.5%. So not only that your share is growing, you're also every year getting money. That's pretty cool. That's what people should do, smart people. Got it? So far, so good?
So good.
Well, this one telling me how much the share is going up, and this one is how much, that's called dividend, the share have given you every year. So it's another column. Then there is, this one I'm not using, so I won't waste the time on it. This one, I'm not gonna use it, so I'm not gonna talk about it. CPI, it's important. CPI, it's a different concept. Whoever study economics know what it is. It's Consumer Price Index. You know, you live in Uganda. Uganda in the last several years has less inflation. You know what inflation is?
Yes.
You know, when you go and buy Coca-Cola today, you'll pay a price. 5 years ago, it was cheaper. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's inflation. When the prices of the commodity are going up.
Persistent increase.
So how do you define inflation? Usually what you do is you say, okay, we take, let's say if I buy bread, milk, whatever, it will cost me, let's say, 500,000 shilling. That's what it cost me last year. This year, it cost me 550,000 shilling. Same things, same bread, same milk, same things. Well, it cost me more, 10% more. 550, it's 10% more than 500, correct? The 10% is the inflation rate. So now in America, when they did it for 2020, the inflation was 1.2%, very low. There were years that had a high inflation, by the way. The 80s, I remember, they're like 11, 13%, like in Uganda. Uganda now it's about 5-6%, if I recall. But they had years of 10, 20, 15% in Uganda. And so it collected all this data. So we're going to use all this data. And how would you use it? You have to be smart. Stage number one, this is very stupid way of organizing data, no question about it. You already know that. Never. I mean, I call Excel, it's the cage of the honey cage. Why it's a honey cage? Because people get caught in Excel, they think they can do everything. It's a maze. It ends up as a big maze. Look at his Excel. It's ridiculous. In the end of the day, all what it needs, and we will do it today, is, I think it's only those two columns, only this part we need. Secondly, to get to this one, you don't need to go over all those tables. You just collect all this data, put it in a database. So stage number one, we do, and that, Brenda, you should be expert on. And we're going to go over it today again. We record it. And that's something that you guys and you, Daniel, too, has to be expert on that. How do I load this data to a table in Postgres, in the database? We use Python, we use Django. It's very simple, believe it or not. But first you have to build up a table. And that's, you know. So that's number one I did. I took all those columns, see all the columns? We copy them. Step number one I did, and I want you to go over it. Don't touch it, but do go over it. I go to the models. Here is my table. I call it XBRL Historical Return S&P. Because the S&P is the index surrounding on that. If you look at all the columns beside the last one, in fact, originally, I usually don't do it, but this time it was the right way to do it. You look at all the columns, it's exactly, I did each one, I did a column in the tables. You see that? See that, Daniel?
Yes, doctor.
For each one of them, I made a column. So all those columns, they're literally a column in the Excel, beside the last one, which I added. So when I'm uploading the data, I'm reading it from the Excel and putting it in those columns. So far, so good. That makes sense. That's, this is really technical. This is really what you have learned so far. What we started, is Brenda with us? I want her to hear it. It's very important.
Yeah, she's listening. She's reconnecting, I guess.
Yeah, what happened? It's disconnecting all the time.
It's not visible.
Is Patricia with us? Hi, Patricia. Who is it with us? Why she's not answering? Anyway, but it's very important, Brenda. But this part you all know. How to make a table, you all know. Which column you need to use depends on the data I'm filling in. Say a year, it's only positive years. You know, we are 2021, it's much less than 3,000. So I put a positive small integer. So I have up to 6,400, something like that. That's enough. I didn't want to put an integer. Integer take more space, but it's such a small tables. It doesn't really make much difference. But if I need, I will always increase it. Not a big deal. Okay. Now, AA, they are all decimal. They are all percentage. I always like to put those one as decimal. You see all of them decimal, all of them decimal.
Yeah.
And why decimal? Because we're dealing with money. If you look at this table, beside the S&P is money. So it has 2 digits after. You need a cent, dollars and cents, correct? So for the S&P, I declared it S&P 500. Pay attention, I'm very picky. I always keep names of the columns lowercase. Remember, I wrote a word, if it's 2 words, I always put underscore. It's decimal for S&P, I made decimal 8 with 2 decimal points, meaning that's more than enough. The index is about 3,000, 4,000. 8, it means like a million. Then it gets to a million, I don't have any problem. And it might get to it, and it might be that that's something called split. They might do split, so you will. Whatever it is, it's enough for now. Okay, so I made all of them, in fact, 8, but those one I did with 4 decimal point because I wanted to put percentage. So I will have, let's say, 27%, 0.15. So that will be with 4 points after the decimal point. That's very important for me. So I kept 8 and 4. So I will have at least 4 decimal points after the point. So if I have 27.15 percentage, it will be 0.2715. I need 4 digits. More than that, I don't need. Okay. So I just want to cover all the options. So I might spend a little more space than I should. If it's only decimal, and then it really will be enough to put here 4. It would be enough, but I didn't want to deal with it. And it doesn't take that much space, so I didn't really care. So as I said before, up to this point, all those, we have 1 column for every column in the Excel I'm loading, okay? Then I define a lot of new columns. They are very smart columns. We get it. I use the word property because what it does, it makes it as if it is a column in the table. I repeat, those are real columns in the database, all of those. This is not a real column. That's called, by the way, whoever knows, called virtual or column. Because it's not a real column. It's based on another column. Now see what we're writing, AAA rate. By the way, when it collected the data, it wasn't percentage. It was not written as a decimal point. That could cause a lot of problems. When you look at the AAA, 5.73 is percentage. So I wanted to convert it to a decimal point. So it should be 0.073, correct? I need to divide it by 100 to convert it to a decimal point. And I wanted everything to be on the same level. Doesn't matter how we collect the data. You collect it that way, I'm not going to touch it, but I'm going to fix it on mine. So this first column, all what it does really, it's take this number and divide it by 100. And how do I do it in a smart way? I took the number, multiplied it by 100. I round it because many times this is a little deceiving. When you look at his number, not always it really is what you see. This is correct, but many places it's already what it is. See, for here it says 09. It's not really 09, it's 090261. I don't really care about that much. I care only up to the fourth. That's enough. You don't really need to. So you want to round it. And that's good enough. And then you'll be consistent. Won't make any difference to the result. Very minor. So, and I wanted to, it's a trick that I did. I take the number, I multiply by 100, I round it. And when you round, you lose the decimal. And then I divide by 1,000. So let's look at how it looks like. Let's go to the admin, and you guys know the admin. Just for the illustration, I do have somewhere here the AAA. Anybody see? Oh, I moved it. I think I removed it because I don't need it anymore. BBBA, here we go. Just for the fun of it, I'll move it and put it back later on there so you can see the meaning. Okay, but I will do another one here. What happened? Why
There are two commas there.
Yeah. You don't need that. Okay. And what the effect? Let's look how the AAA look like and the rate. Very simple. You see, let's start it. Let's go into look at the table in the admin. Where is it? Here we go. Let's run it. This is the table, by the way. Okay. You see, it says the AAA, it's 2.2300. I keep 4 digits. But I want to turn it to decimal. So when I multiply that by 100, round it, and divide by 1,000, that's what it does. It turns it to decimal points. Got it?
Yeah.
This is in percentage, this is decimal point. And I do the same things for the PP. And whatever I need, I change it to the rate, okay? But I don't want to put it here, because I don't really need it after I've done it. I don't care about it really. I care about what I need to use it for. Okay, so I put it there. I did the same things for the BBB. You see the BB rate? Same things. Whatever I needed to do it, I did it. So that's stage number 1. Those kind of a simple property, that's a new things for you. That's a very important. I added a new column, correct? I can use it like a regular column. I did the same things for the B, you see, very simple. I did the same thing for the treasury, but the treasury was a little tricky because I'm missing some data, some years. So I just put it in a try. If there's an error, just say I don't have any data. If you already don't have a data in there, it will give you an error. And then just return none. So this column will have none. That's fine. Got it?
Yeah.
Yes.
This one I know for all of them you have the data, so there's no problem with that one. This one you do. Okay. And then you move into this one. Okay, if I have the rate, still, this is real. That's interesting. This one I need to teach you something in economics, but this one you can really even use, see, without knowing the economics. Okay? This is a new column. based on this column and another column. Truth of the matter is another column called CPI rate. Did I do CPI rate here? No, it's in the bottom, I think. Do you see CPI rate here? I should have one. Yeah, here it is. Truth of the matter, this is what it should be before. Logically, I probably was doing it different ways. Doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make any difference, by the way. Okay? CPI rate is taking the inflation and also converting it to decimal. So all of those stuff is bullshit. It's nothing. Just making sure everything is in decimal. They're all on the same unit of measurement. This one is already economics. This is whoever study economics saying, if I make 5% and there is inflation, I don't really get 5% because I can buy less for the money. But won't get into that. We don't really need to spend our time now. We will. Okay? And you, Daniel, will catch over time. And Binder can explain that to you. For now, I would like to write a function, a new column, based on those two columns. Very easy. I make a new column, 1 plus self this rate. Let's give me a number. 1 plus this rate, it's giving me a number. By the way, this one is already coming out as a float. Float is already turning it's a decimal point. Okay? I just want to make sure this one comes as a decimal. By the way, I didn't really have to. I think this one already returning the float. Yeah, it will return a float, but I just didn't really want to mess up with him. So I didn't really care. It works so fast anyway. Okay, so I got two numbers based on those two columns. Each number here, I take one, divide by the other one, and subtract one, I get a number. And this is going to be a column. And that's what I'm returning. If I have all the data, it will return it. Otherwise, it will just return none. And I do the same trick. I just want to make sure that that RR, since I use a float here, it will always return. So I multiply by 1,000, rounding it, and divide by 1,000, making sure that I'm rounded up to the 4th decimal point. But that's a small trick. That's not that important, okay? Just think about it once, learn it. The key point is that I can make a new column based on another column that's based on another column, and that's fine. You can do it. That's pretty cool. That's avoiding all his mess in the Excel he has done. Yeah.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Doctor.
Yeah.
I was just asking that part for the rounding, like the part you multiply times RR.
It's this.
Yeah. The last part where you're returning.
Okay. So see, ignore that. I return RR. Okay. I'm just rounding it and I'm returning RR. If there's any error in the calculation, return nothing. So RR is nothing. Got it? If there's no error, that one is fine, that one has the data, it will divide, it will be just fine. Return whatever you calculated. Got it? But the beautiful here, you think in a record way. It does it for every record. For that record, it takes the T-bill 3 months, you add to it 1, it takes the inflation, add to it 1, whatever this one, divide by this one, and subtract 1. That's economics. And here when I'm returning, I just wanted to make sure I'm rounding up to the 4th decimal point. That's the holy things. But that's detail. That's not interesting. This is just in mathematical way, I just want to be on the same level that I always return decimal points up to the 4th one. So my numbers will always be percentage dot 2 decimal point after the percentage. Got it?
Yes.
But this is the important things. Now, it can be even much more complex. There's some columns that I did, but again, this is a little more elaborated, more complex. In fact, this is really complex because I had to go to the previous row. Say I'm in a specific row for this property. So I need to go to the same table to a row before. And I haven't found any trick to do that. I need to find a way. But for now, what I did is I made this property calling himself. It really is, it's a nice trick. It works. It goes to the table itself. See, this is the table itself. And it goes to the year and take one before. It goes to the year of this record minus one, because for this record, we have self that year, it's the year of this record. Got it? And I go 1 year before. And then from there, I take really the value. After I take the value from the previous year, I take the value of this year, then I write the formula here. But that's a different topic. I don't want to get into that. You have to know how to price bonds. That's a different topic in finance, okay? I will go over that in some point. That's why we need the course in corporate valuation, one of the things we study. But forget about it. He did it in the Excel. I did it right here. Very elegant. So I have all those columns and all the calculations. And then the beautiful part is, okay, you can see all those columns. I compared it to his results. They are the same things. So I have one huge Excel, but I don't really care about the Excel. Who cares? I don't even have to think about it. All what I care is that I have different columns for whatever I need. And the columns I need most are the one I put really here up to the first four. Risk premium, it's a complex way to calculate. I did it. I wrote a formula. I calculated it nicely. But the problem with the risk when you write it, I did it yesterday, in fact. I wrote it as a property, but it takes a lot of time to do it. So here is the smart things. Here is the smart things. And now it's very important. This is very important. When you load the data to the table, all what you need to do, you load those columns. After I load those data, those formulas work immediately for every row. After they are filled up, I use them to calculate a formula that if I do it like this one would take a lot of time. So the smart way to do it, we're using Binder all the time. Binder, you should be 100% on this one.
Doctor, I'm using my phone, I'm seeing.
No, but it's easier for me, sweetie, to communicate.
I'm next to Daniel.
No, but it would be easier for me when I see you guys. From your expression, I can tell if you understand me or not. And then I will slow down or speed up. It's much easier. That's the problem when you teach a whole class. But this is such a hard topic. It's a very hard topic. Okay?
Okay.
So, when we go to the admin, I made a special function, by the way. This is a very nice way to do things. Stage number one, I made a function in JavaScript called admin setup. This is for you, Daniel. Very important. And what I transfer here, it's really, I put it, let's say, somewhere. I'll give you an example. Example of what I did here, okay? If you look here, there's a button. This is all buttons. There is a menu, by the way, I will show it to you. By the way, I think I have it here. So this is all buttons. You refresh, you go to the admin, you get all those buttons. There's one that says load SP500 returns. This button's in charge of taking all the data from this table and upload it to the table I was talking about. Okay? So when you click on this table, on this button, it does the work. How does it do it? When I click on this button, it goes to, it's really like clicking on this. And what happened? We have on-click event, correct? This means this function is going to be called. Okay. So when we look at this function, what this function has, it's a very smart function. Why is it a very smart function? It goes to see which button did I clicked on. Is that right? That's what we get in the event target, correct?
Yes.
From the event target, I can get the attributes. We know how to do that. You should know it by heart by now. Meaning, this one, after I click this button, these functions are activated. And by get attributes, I'm getting this name. So far, so good.
So good.
So see what I do now. This is really what makes it beautiful. I am taking this function name. I have the function name. You see that? And I just want to make sure that somebody, if you click by mistake, it won't run. So I wrote this line of code just to make sure. See, when you click here, it will stop. And it tells you no. If you want to run it, you have to change the no to some letter, Y or something else. Otherwise, it will not run. It will not run. And how do you do that? It's a nice trick. For administration, it's very important. You just, there's something called prompt. It's another function you should know. Whatever you write here, that's what the user will see up to here. And then that's the default. And whatever the user type in after he does OK, it will be the result in the SS. In other words, when I'm clicking here, pay attention. You are sure you want to run function. Since I know already the name of the function, I put it here. Type PS to run. You have to type PS. But the truth of the matter, you can type any letter, it will work. Okay? But I like when people, when I do it for somebody else, I do it them right there, they have to think twice. Do I really want to run it, or I clicked it by mistake? If you click it by mistake, you don't want it to run. That's the only purpose of that one. So if you click any letter, see, I check if it's empty. If it's empty, it will not run. That's why you have return. Or if it's still no. I could have checked if it's not equal to yes. And that's really what I should have done. But since I'm the one that have to click that until it works perfectly, I didn't have the time. I didn't want to type all the time. Yes, so I just click any letter, it works. Okay, so that's the purpose of this part. Learn that one. It's a good one. It's a very important one. To make sure that you make a button, when you click a button, you want to make sure that the user is sure it wants to run it. Now is the second important things. Okay? This one you can ignore for now. Now, you know what, we will not ignore that. It's important too. Because I did it for all of the other ones. See, by the way, this is a general function, which I'm using. What am I using it for? Pay attention. I'm getting a name of a function in the button, which I am collecting here. And then I am transferring it. This one we all know how to use Ajax to call a function. I'm calling a function on the server called admin setup, but which variables do I transfer to? It's the name of the function. You got it?
Yeah.
I am calling this function, but in the truth is I'm sending it's a variable, a name of a function. That's pretty cool. Very, very cool. Because what I want to do, if you look at all the buttons, look at the first button. It's the same things. It's the same button I'm clicking. It's the same function. But I'm telling him, when I click on this button, I really want to go to the server and activate this function. Got it? And you're seeing a minute how it does it. You go to here, some things, activate this function, activate this function. Instead of writing so many functions, I made one function, like the mother of the functions, I call it. And all what I transfer to it is the name of a function I want to work on the server. And when that function finishes, give me the results, and based on the results, I will print it somewhere. And by the way, we can go back to here. This is an easy stuff. This is just some div that I created called result message. It's right here. See that? So when you click the button, this one being activated, the first, it will say in process. So when you click here, in the bottom here, you will see in process. When it finishes running, it will print the results of the function you were running. Got it? So it's a little, not very crucial. Now, by the way, after we will use it for you, Brenda. Okay, sweetie? We will use it for you. Because after you will upgrade this one, you will want to run this one because you don't have this data on your computer. I already put it on the server. I don't know, did I do it on the server? I don't recall if I did it, but I will check. Okay, I think I did or not. I don't remember. I don't think I did. So I will update too. Let me check. Academy City. And no, this one I will need to log out. Let me check. I don't think I. Let me go to the admin. And I don't know if I even have this file, this table there. Do you see corporate valuation?
Yes.
This one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. I don't see it here, the SP. I didn't upload it yet. I will. We'll do it together, Brenda, okay?
Okay.
The table is not here. So after we do the upgrade with the Git, we will have to come here. You go to the Academy City again. And I will have to log here. No, in fact, it doesn't matter. Here I need to use courses. Since and here I will use this one. All that has to be changed as we go along. Okay, I get that. And then I will have to go here. This button, I don't have the button. You see that? I will have that button. I will click on it. It will take the data from the Excel and put it in the table. Got it?
Yes.
And the way it's going to work, that this button, one more time, this button is really activating this function, but I'm transferring a variable in name of a function. So this one I will go to this function in a second. You definitely will find it. The beautiful things, you will not find the name of the function that I transferred here. You will not find it here in the URL. You find the admin, it should be here somewhere. You see it here, it's here. And when I go to this one now, that's the beautiful part. That's a little hard. It really is hard. You need to know a lot of elements to put them together so you can do it in a smart way. You now got to this function. Remember which variable did we transfer the fund? Remember?
Yes.
Where is that fund came from? Right from here, is that right? We collected the fund underscore and we transferred that as a variable to this function, correct?
Yeah.
Now that I got to this function on the server, I'm getting it through request post. So now I know the name of the function and I want to activate the function. So what I do is take the name of the function, add to it a string request. How is it going to look like? It's going to look like if you do a print here, if you were doing print and you're taking this one, what will you get? You will get the name of the function. In this case, it's exactly this, isn't it? Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you go to here, and that will end up when you're connecting this to this string, you're really putting it like that. The function will look like this. Is that right? This is what you get is a string, yeah? Is that right?
Yes.
But this is really a name of a function, just like any other function. Now I want to call this function. And the way you do it, you use a function called eval. Eval, take a string and call it as if it was a name of something. So if I have a name of a function, eval will activate that function. So now I need to go and look for this function called, we called it here, load sp return. So when I go to the view and look, oh, there is a function, I bet a function. So this function is really being called, and this is doing the job. Okay, so this is a beautiful trick. How you can call different type of functions from one function without having the URL here to have many functions. You have only one function that allow you to activate a lot of other functions. It's a very powerful trick, very powerful trick. Now, okay, now that we have, this one is beautiful. I don't even have to think about it anymore. All what I have to think now from now on is make functions and activate it. Now I'm much even smarter. I want to walk in the right way. Walk in the right way, it means you're not just going to write all the code here. Otherwise, this file will be billions of rows and you get lost. You make an object. And we made an object called Academy City XBRL. That object has a lot of functions. So this is the object. It takes, it makes a lot of stuff, putting data in the right places, put the Excels in the right place. By the way, the fact that I put the Excel here is not coincident. Let me close it. The Excel that I'm going to upload, I put it here for a reason. Because he knows already, by the way I designed that one, how to find Excels here. So that we'll talk some other time. There's a lot of stuff. Let's talk about it also later on. Let's look at only one function. It's the upload. Here we go. I usually like to keep the same name of functions so I don't get lost. Otherwise, I would get lost. So from the view, I create the object and I just call the same function in the object. This is in the object. So that takes me now to this function. Why do I do it? Especially in this example, it's very important because now I have already the management what the Excel is. By the way, in the future, we will download the data from this website, like he did. So we don't need this Excel anymore. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, doctor.
So, and then pay attention, see the beauty. I made already a special function in this object. That's why we're making objects. So we don't have to repeat ourselves. I want to read this Excel and make it as a data frame in pandas. Remember I told you in machine learning, we will learn a lot about pandas. So I made already a function and I don't even have to remember anymore how I did it. It reads the Excel from the right place because I made already Excel path. Excel path was defined in a smart way already here. An Excel path that you have here, Excel path, you see that?
Yeah.
He knows how to go exactly to here. And then if he knows already how to go there, I don't need to think about it anymore. If I have Excel I want to read, I will put it here. And I want to read it, I don't have to think about it anymore. That's a smart way of doing things. So I don't have to think about all of that. Why? All what I have to do is give the name. By the way, I did it even nicely. You don't have to put the XLSX. It will put it for me. I just take the name of the file. That's the name of the file. I transfer to this load Excel data. I gave him the file name, and moreover, I made this function such a smart function that he knows which folder I want in the Excel. So if you open this one again, it has a lot of folders. I want this one, the one that I created. So I don't want to read the whole Excel. I want to read only this Excel, only this folder. And my function is very smart one. Now you understand why you should study machine learning. It's data processing for machine learning. It's a must know, okay? So now I have a data frame. Data frame is a powerful, it's like a table. You can think it's a table in your head with all the columns. Remember, this table has all the Excel. Okay. Now I did it. I wanted to make sure the DF, it will sort all the data by the year. So I make sure all the years are correct. By the way, it does it already. The reason it does it is because when I define the table in the model, I made its order by year descending from the lowest to the highest. Got it? So this
Yes.
already does the job. I just didn't want it to, I don't know. I didn't have to, but it doesn't really take that much time. And I didn't really want it to count if somebody would change one that the library of data frame or whatever, I won't get stuck, but it's not crucial. Okay, so I have a data frame. Now this is a hard one. You don't need to know. This is, forget about this one for now. This is economics, okay? This one economics. Don't forget about this part. That's not the crucial part now. The crucial part here, I made this table, I clean it up. If there was any data, I want to fill it up again, I need to delete it first. Am I right? Otherwise, I will fill it up again. By the way, this is the trick I added, and you should know it. I made a library. I made a file, a You know, you always, when you make a table, you make it for model.model. I always add this one as well to all of them. That addition allows you to take this one and empty it. If you want to empty it, if I do truncate, it will empty the table. Got it? By
Yes.
the addition of this one, this is called a mixing. I build up this one. I think I put it in the core probably. You can look at it up here probably. Here we go. Yeah, I put it in the core SQL because it's related to the core. We have a project application for the core. And I use it all the time now. It's allowed me to empty tables first. So the first thing I do here, I empty the table. After I empty the table, I do a loop on the data frame. It's like a table. And the data frame takes two things, the index and the row itself. I don't really need the index in this case. Many times I do. Index is very important in machine learning when you do time series and all that stuff. But here it's not really that crucial. And it has a function called iterate rows. So it's going over all the rows like a for loop. That's the way you do it on a data frame. And now, see here, I check if that year already exists in the table. That's why I do get or create. That means if you have already the data for that year, if I didn't do the truncate, it won't be the end of the world. But I do like to do the truncate. I can really remove it and it will be just fine. Okay? The reason I kept it there is because I don't know in the future, how do we develop the Excel? So then when I know the final version, I might remove the truncate. It will make it work faster. Because this one checks if I already have a record for the year. If I don't have a record for the year, it doesn't have to create it. But if I delete it, it always will create it. Got it? So you don't really have to use the truncate. I kept it there for now. In the future, I will make my mind when I know the final version of how that's going to work. For now, I get a column, a row, a new row, and I start putting, I get a row called year data. A C tell me if he created or he found it. I don't really need to use it here because I know it always will be true because I did a truncate here. And here I'm cautious to see if I do really have a data in the Excel. You know, the data frame in places that you don't have a data, it's a missing data. Like all those, they're all missing data. It will give you an error. So places you don't have a data, you don't want to fill them. You don't need to fill them. That's why when I define the model, I allow null, blank, you know, the default to be none, allow them to be null and blank. So it would be blank. But not to get an error in this loop, I made if not is not NA. Panda has a special function called is NA. Is there missing data? Is there a missing data on that row or not? In that column on that row? If there is a missing data, it will say true. If it's not, that means if there is a missing data, that will be true, yeah? Is an A, if it is an A, don't do anything. If it's not an A, then fill up the data. So in the year data new row, fill it, the AAA, which we created here, fill it up. If you don't have data, leave it alone. Don't do anything for it. So you do all of them. That's to be cautious. By the way, you could make it a little smaller. I didn't want to waste my time. And pay attention that the last one that we're filling is the CPI. The CPI is exactly the last one here. So all of those we're filling up, all of them. We're not filling up this one. although it is in the table. So far it's empty. Okay, if there's any error, it will just give me error, but there shouldn't be any error, and there aren't any error really. Then you move to the next stage. You save it. Then this record, this one makes it that the data go to the Postgres. Now the data in the Postgres. Got it? Now, in fact, I'm not sure I have to have it. I wanted to be sure. Then I do some complicated calculation that has to do with finance. I'm not going to go into it. But the important thing is that now that I have the data filled in for that row, I want to fill up this data in the risk premium based on the data that I uploaded. Got it? So as I fill this row, calculate the other one and put it here. By the way, I could have made this one, by the way, first time I did it as a property. But it takes a lot of time. It slowed down the operation. Smart way in those cases is to do the calculation here, and that's a little complex. I won't get into it. You don't need to know that by now. You, Brenda, eventually should know it by heart. Okay? But for now, you don't really need to know. The end result is, it's really, look at this row. It's really similar to this one. Year.CPI equal to something. Year.risk premium equal to whatever these are calculated, correct? Is putting it in the same record, and then I save it again. I'm not sure I need this one, but I kept it there. I will try it without and see if it works. And it works. Now, why this one, it's a little complex, because really hard to understand it, very, very hard to understand. When I'm looping over the for loop of the data frame, I put some variables here, and it's doing compounding interest rate. This is doing compounding. And after it does compounding, it does the average. And after it does the average, for every year, it takes the difference. And the difference is the risk premium. And then it goes to the next year. But it has to remember what was last year. And that's why we put it in here. I don't think it's worth the time in this point of your education. But just very important to know that you can do those kind of things. This is power. Okay? This is very powerful. By the way, the reason this nice, beautiful trick, you know, such a simple function in a smart way, really reduce the need. See, it couldn't do it. See, what in order to do what I did, all those 4 columns are unnecessary. What it did to do the compounded, it calculated all these stupid column. And then based on that one, it had to do this one. Okay, which one? No, not this one. Based on this one, where's the compound? No, from here, it started from here. Can look at the function here. See how complex, you put it, the function here, okay? Which is based on these stupid things and these stupid things. And it didn't need to do those 2 columns. They are unnecessary. When you know Python, you really don't need almost Excel. Python is 100 times more powerful, but you need to be very creative and very smart. And that's why his Excel, by the way, I discovered a couple errors in his Excel. It couldn't, you always will make mistakes. You're working in Excel like that. But when you work this way, you cannot make mistakes. No way. Otherwise, you won't work. Or you will have error all over the whole columns, or the whole columns will be right. Got it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the right way, but this is a little complex. I won't get into that now, this part. leave it. But you understand that we were uploading the data by reading the Excel. Reading Excel, you must understand, read it, study it hard. Go even learn this function I made, won't hurt you. Will help you in the future. Then we do a loop on the data frame, and then we put the data into the database. That's a must know knowledge. Okay? A must know. After I have the data in the database, I'm just really filling up only those columns. Those one are automatic done. All of those are automatically done. I don't need to worry about them. Those are all functions. They're kind of creating new columns. This column, I could have made it as this one, but it takes a lot, this loop for every year take a lot of calculation. So you better do it once and keep it in the database as a regular file, as a regular column, and then when the user uses it, it comes immediately. Got it?
Yeah.
Very important, very, very important. Okay? So that's, okay, let's summarize what already happened. We have an Excel that this guy has done, which we need for valuation. By the way, he has a nice explanation. He's a very good guy. I mean, this guy's one of the best in the world in this field. He wrote all this explanation of what each one is means. Eventually, well, we will put this one, Brenda, in Academy City in the course when we're describing the data. Is that right? Not in the Excel. That's not the right place. Got it?
Yes.
That's not the right place. Secondly, next year, what do we need to do next year? We only need to change to add one row, 2021 in here. Click that button and it's done. We don't have to create Excel. It has to create the whole Excel again. Go every place. It has to go to here. It has to go to here. It has to go to here. Every place has to put it again. Crazy. Stupid even. Am I right?
Yes.
All what we had to do is put one row here. And moreover, Brenda, how will you do it in a smart way? The hell with this Excel. You make a little table. You go to the database. Here we go. Give you an example how you can do it very smart. You click here and you just add 2021.
No, yeah.
And just fill up the data here and you're done. All the rest, you see, all the calculated ones you don't need. Now, if that wasn't the risk premium here, I would tell you do it this way. Got it?
Yes.
But I might tell you, do it this way. And that would be a good exercise for you. It's a hard exercise. Do all of that. Just fill up those ones. You don't need to fill up the last one. And then write a function and a button. You click on the button, it will calculate that one automatically. But that's next year, we will worry about it because the data of 2021 will be only by the end of the 2021. We might do it before, we'll see, okay? And we will automate the whole thing, even that one we don't. You know, you can write a function, end of the year, starting 2022, January 5th, you click a button, it will do everything we need for the previous year. There's a lot of other things we will need to do. So this should be in the list, okay? That's elegant. It has to do the whole things over and over. That's crazy. We don't even have to use this Excel anymore. We're not going to. I tell you why. Because in order to get the next, what is this one? This is SNAAA return. He gets this data right from here, from this website. So we'll write a function going to that website, pull the number, and put it in the table. Got it? Here's a, by the way, explode about it. I just didn't have the time. I didn't want to. In fact, this is really not the right way to give instructions. So I went and dive in. That's why I wrote my name here, Amos, to know that I did it. He didn't do it. I went to their website, and they have a really nice API. So we're going to learn their API. We'll use it. One time we'll learn how to use it, and we'll put the data directly into the table. And that's it. Now Excel. Got it?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, beautiful. So let's move on. I think this is a heavy duty. It's very interesting, very important. And now we have a beautiful table. But why did I do all of that? If you look at this Excel, so I will go over that one more time. After it does all the calculation, you can tell, you go in the bottom. By the way, it has summary for PPT. That's what it teaches in classes. You take the summary. Basically, that's what we would like to put. Maybe something like this, right? Well, if you go here and you click risk premium, you get this little table right here. You got it? So we want to put here a nice table that looks like just like this one. Do we know how to do that? Definitely we do. We need to get data, several data. But if you look at it, we have arithmetic, average, geometric and average. Those numbers for stack minus t-base. In a minute, I'll show you how I turn it. For this one, we take the averages. And then we calculate also geometric. Why it doesn't have the standard deviation? It should put the standard deviation. I put it under, yeah, good.
Okay.
Geometric usually you don't use in finance, you use the average, because usually it really depends. If you want to focus for a long term, you use the geometric. You want to focus for next year, you use the arithmetic average. But we have also the standard deviation. So we want to make this table. And this table eventually going to be presented here. So we're getting closer, is that right? To what we said in the early today in the session. We want to do this. We want to do this. We want to do this. And then we want to do, by the way, it's running every time. I don't want it to run there every time. I will make it smarter. It shouldn't run every time. And then when you click here, maybe I'll make it when you click here. Yeah, I'll make it when you click here. So that will make more sense. When you click on the risk premium, now I will make it when you click there, but I will make it in a way that you don't, every time you will not go and get the data. It's a stupid way. But for now, we want to put this table here. But we need to get the data. How do we get the data? We have to understand what are those data coming from. So let's see where they're coming from. By the way, you see is A1999 returns by year, which is really right here. It goes to A19. Look at that. It's just really copying his stuff that he has done before. So where is those data coming from? Let's look at that. A19, H114. A19, yeah, this one is just taking the years. Big deal. Is that right? In a minute, I will show you, I'm going to do something much, much smarter. Because what it does usually takes 50 years. What happened next year? It will have to change this one to be 72 to 2021. Is that right?
Yes.
And this one will change to 212 to 2021. I want it to be automatic. And I'll show you how we'll do it. Okay?
Yeah.
Second, it takes the data from 8.28, it's H14, 114. H114. That's what I told you. What it's doing is the risk premium. You see that? So it takes those four. Okay, so what are those four? We need to calculate them ourselves too. They are very simple, by the way. They are the difference between this and this. Look at this one. It's the difference between this and this. See how much it has to go in circle instead of just do one times function and that's it. But what do I have here? Here I have the average of this column. You see that?
Yeah.
But we already have calculated this column. We have this column, return on S&P. We'll see it in a minute. Okay? That's one thing that I'm struggling now, in fact. And this one, it's doing the average. So it does the average here. Here it does the average, but it takes a shorter range. So it has to do it manually every time. You got it?
Yes.
I want it to be automatic. And this one, it does manually again. And then after it does this one and this one for different ranges from this column, for this column and this column, then it takes this minus this equal to this minus this give me this, and this one, by the way, what does it do here? T-bonds and what did it do here? T-bond, T-bears, yeah. This is treasury bears, this is treasury bears, and it does also probably minus this one. That will be D11, yeah, I was right. So it does it twice for the T-bears and T-bonds, but I think it's only recording this one. It should record only this one because nobody really care about this one in real life. In real life, nobody use those. But let's see what it does. It does takes the H and the I, so it takes both of them, the T-bears and that. And the number below is the standard deviation. So how do you do a standard deviation? It's very simple. Instead of using average, say, okay. It really does, it's getting lazy here to some extent. It makes standard, it use the Excel standard deviation function on the range, okay? And it divide by square root of the number of observations. And that's the way you do standard deviations. But we'll do it automatically, okay? And in a second, I will show you how you do that. And okay, but step number one, we would like to get the averages. Let's get the averages. That's where I am in now, okay? What I recommend, I think it's too much to swallow in one time. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
How about we take a break? I want to take a break from this one. We continue tomorrow on this part. Okay?
Okay.
I would like to take a break for 5-10 minutes if you can survive to do something easier, much, much easier, and start new recording even. Okay, we'll come back to this one tomorrow. It's since you already blind and know what those ones are, just to show you how you can do this one so easy. I will do the balance sheet, and then as exercise for tomorrow, you do the income statement. Maybe we'll do both of them at the same time, and I will show you how. In fact, I think I did this one and this one at the same time. Okay, I don't even remember I did, but it's very elegant. Can you survive or you want to continue tomorrow? Don't be shy. It's not easy stuff. This is easier than the stuff we did so far.
You can take a break when you come.
But let's take a break, okay?
Yes.
Okay,
I'll close the video and we'll do a new video. And there are 2 topics, and you, Brenda, keep track of those videos, are very valuable, okay,
Oh,
for the future. So let's take a break about 10 minutes, okay?
okay.
And I will get back. I will close it. I just wanted that it will work. That it will prepare the video for us. Okay. And now we start a new session. I will extend the same link, but we can reopen it. Okay. We'll open
Okay,
it.
doctor.
Okay. Have a good one, guys.